The man in the hospital after police say he tried to rob an Akron fast food restaurant.
Instead, an employee shot him. This happened on New Year's Day at a Taco Bell on South Arlington Road in Akron.
Before the shooting started, police say a masked man entered the South Arlington store and demanded money from the register. At some point during the confrontation, the suspect fired the gun. Then a 21-year-old employee shot back.
To some degree, could have saved or prevented someone from being seriously injured or killed, himself or others.
The suspect took off. A few minutes later, a nearby hospital reported the 35-year-old was dropped off with gunshot wounds to the upper torso. That man is in serious but stable condition Tuesday. He's now facing robbery and other related charges. As for the Taco Bell employee, police tell us he likely won't face charges in the shooting.
This would appear that it'd be more of an internal matter between he and the employer. More so than an issue with us.
New at noon, a man is in custody following a burglary and shooting in Terrace Village. This happened around 10:30 last night on Burroughs Street. A woman told police she had just ended a relationship with Devin Washington. He allegedly then showed up to her house and kicked in the back door. He allegedly went around the front and kicked in that door as well. That's when police say the victim shot at him. Washington later walked into the hospital with a gunshot wound to the stomach. Charges against him include burglary, trespassing, stalking, harassment, and reckless endangerment.
The front of this home and this car were riddled with gunfire after the homeowner says he killed an intruder and then exchanged gunfire with additional suspects outside. That homeowner insists he had no choice but to defend his life. Just before 7 o'clock Tuesday night, police were called to this neighborhood near 38th and Post after a homeowner reported a masked man forced his way into the home during an attempted robbery. The homeowner admits he fought with the would-be thief before shooting the intruder with the suspect's own gun. 22-year-old Damon Swanigan Jr. died on the front step of the home, which was then hit by a barrage of bullets from additional suspects outside. Police questioned the homeowner overnight, but he was released pending further investigation.
I didn't even think him or me. I was just basically trying to survive myself, man. I don't know his intention, but I didn't want to be shot, man. That's just all to it.
We now know more about a shooting in the parking lot of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science from New Year's Eve. Court documents say two armed men approached a man, his girlfriend, and their two children in the parking lot. He told police the suspects pointed their guns at him, demanding his silver chain. Then he said he drew his own gun and both parties shot at each other. The suspects ran away after that. One showed up at a hospital with a gunshot wound. Police arrested him, but the other man is still on the run.
New at noon, the Attorney General's office says a 23-year-old will not face charges for the deadly shooting of a man in Manchester. Officials say it happened last April when a stranger, later identified as Rodney Yancey, walked into an apartment belonging to Roy Nagel's girlfriend. According to the Attorney General's office, Yancey pulled a knife on Nagel after he was kicked out. Despite several warnings, investigators say Yancey continued to walk toward Nagel, who fired his gun several times. Officials say the shooting was legally justified since it was done in self-defense.
Two bodies being carried on a stretcher early Christmas Eve. It's the result of a daring robbery attempt in Trial Square, St. Elizabeth. Two men, Christophine Gardner and Chevron Hall, otherwise called Munga, set out to rob patrons at an event in the community when a licensed firearm holder challenged them inside a bar. Both of the would-be robbers were killed. Now, CCTV footage being circulated on social media shows the two gunmen in hoodies and masks. One pointed his gun in the firearm holder's face, then made his way around the counter. The other was at the entrance of the establishment. But shortly after, the firearm holder pulled a gun from his waist, opened fire at the gunman around the counter, then went after the other who tried to run. Interestingly, residents, pleased by the outcome, also sent strong warnings to criminals who tried to dampen their Christmas.
It's 3 a.m. on Hildebrand Avenue, and employees at the Purple Dragon are about to be put in a seemingly impossible situation. 3 men barge in and one points a gun at the clerk's face. On a couch just feet away, a security guard reaches for his gun and pulls back the slide, but one of the gunmen is already aiming at him. They both open fire. One gunman dives to the floor after being hit. The other fires 2 shots at the guard before sprinting out the door. When the clerk stands up, she realizes the gunman on the ground is still moving and still holding his weapon, so she gets back under the counter. But then an unknown customer walks in. The clerk stands up and warns that person to leave, even while the gunman is raising his weapon. Still, he doesn't shoot. But when the security guard got up, the gunman then shoots him one last time in the back. Minutes later, SAPD arrived.
Houston police are investigating after an apparent robber was killed in a gunfight on the southeast side. It happened early this morning on Maxwell Lane. Witnesses told police a man and a woman arrived at his apartment. He went upstairs while she waited in the car. Now, at some point, 2 men approached the woman and reportedly tried to rob her. The man she was with rushed downstairs to help her, exchanging gunfire with the suspects, killing one of them. The other one got away. So far, no charges have been filed.
20-year-old man is recovering this morning after allegedly being shot by a homeowner. This is a live look at the scene. Buckeye police tell us the man shot first walked up to the homeowner's door near 237th Avenue and Mojave Street just after 2 this morning. The homeowner told police he grabbed a handgun and looked out the front but didn't see anyone there. Then police were told the homeowner heard a loud noise in the back of the house, and when he opened the door, he confronted that man. The man reportedly did not listen when he was asked to leave, and the homeowner shot that man in the chest once. He's in the hospital in critical condition. That homeowner has been detained. We'll definitely keep you updated about what exactly happened early this morning in Buckeye and let you know if there's going to be any charges filed either way. Whitney.
Thanks, Dave. Good evening. I'm Madison Carmouche. Kentucky State Police are investigating a shooting out of Rockcastle County after one person died. Troopers responded to a domestic situation in Mount Vernon where Joseph A. Dawson, 48 of Berea, and his wife Catherine Dawson were arguing with her family member Philip Fox. During the argument, Joseph retrieved a machete and Fox grabbed a firearm. Fox shot Joseph Dawson, fatally injuring him. He was pronounced dead on the scene by the Rockcastle coroner.
Phoenix woman stopped an intruder at her apartment by shooting her gun right through the door.
So I open my door and we're like a deer caught in the headlights. Literally, it's just like we just make eye contact. It is open, like, oh, you're right here.
Janelle Williams and her son turned right back around and locked the door. But she says the man ran over and started beating her apartment door down near Central Ave and Campbell.
And then I fired.
She fired 2 shots and missed, but it was enough to scare the man away. She was shaken, but she was alive. And then she called the police.
Not the shooting range. It was real life. What went through my head was this is a stand your ground state.
But she's proud of herself for likely saving her life and her son's life.
Dad had been telling me to get a gun for a long time, and I finally did earlier this year. I'm very happy that I did.
I saw 2 guys creeping up really quick, so I was like, it's a robbery.
2 armed men intent on robbing a jewelry store in Oakland's Fruitville neighborhood got more than they bargained for when a worker opened fire at them. He says he saw this Toyota Camry pull up on the wrong side of the street, right outside his shop.
I draw my weapon.
He says he fired the first shot from his 9mm handgun. He says the men then fired about 20 shots at him. One with a .40 caliber handgun with a drum magazine. The other had a 9mm with an extended magazine. These large capacity magazines are illegal.
I ducked, right? And then I waited to see him like kind of scrambling. The other guy was still shooting. Then I popped my head out and shot 7 more.
In their scramble to escape, one man left one of his shoes behind. The worker believes he shot this guy in the shoulder. The same man was also hit by his own getaway car driven by a third person. Oakland police took a report. Officers did not cite or arrest the worker.
They said you did the right thing. They said you did everything right.
This all happened in a rural area, a home a little bit south of here in Dalmatia. State police arriving at that home Sunday night learned that 47-year-old Tracy Adams killed 31-year-old Brandy Hauk at her home on Malta Road. Authorities say he drove over there following a domestic incident involving other relatives at his own home nearby on Adams Road. Police say Adams fatally shot Hauk at the front door, and as he went inside and entered, he threatened to kill everyone there. A number of relatives were there. State police say his son, who was shielding others, opened fire. The district attorney says it was justified.
Based on the evidence at scene, matched up with what the the statements that were given, and based on that, I believe it's a pretty clear case of self-defense.
An update now on the shooting in Warner Robins Tuesday night that sent one man to the hospital. Police have not released more information on 33-year-old Andre Pope's condition, but do say the investigation revealed he was shot in self-defense by 35-year-old LaMarcus Graves. Police say the shooting happened at 234 Randy Circle around 8 o'clock Tuesday night after Pope forced his way in to Graves' home. No charges have been filed as of now, but the investigation continues. Call Macon Regional Crime Stoppers if you have information.
A man is dead after a shooting inside a car dealership in southwest Oklahoma City. The call came in as an assault with a deadly weapon.
That's right. That initial call came in as a possible robbery suspect with a knife, but police have not confirmed that information just yet. What they do know is one man is dead.
From what we can gather, an individual came into this business behind me here, and some sort of an altercation ensued, and someone from inside the business had a firearm and shot the individual.
Vince says it was his friend, the owner, who shot the man.
It's pretty sad, knowing that he had to do, such a thing, but hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes.
Homicide detectives worked this scene for hours Monday night, gathering evidence and information to find out exactly what led up to this shooting. Now, police have not confirmed any other injuries, and nobody is in custody.
All four had gunshot wounds, and it's because they were shooting at each other.
Sheriff Chip Simmons says 2 people were sleeping inside the home when 2 others armed with guns broke into the residence.
And then that led to a shootout, more or less inside the trailer, between the people that were living there or staying there, sleeping there, and those that were breaking in or doing what we call a home invasion.
1 person was found injured inside the home. Another was driving up to the home hurt when deputies arrived. The sheriff says the 2 others took themselves to different hospitals.
We're still investigating which ones were the ones that entered illegally and which ones were the ones that were seemingly defending themselves.
You can see multiple bullet holes on the walls of the home.
We're still trying to figure out exactly why.
First at 6, take a look at this video of the 3 teen escapees out of Hinds County as they went into court today in Adams County. Robert Smith, Tayshawn Holmes, and Jashawn Jones. They all had bonds set at $1.5 million each for armed carjacking and $1.5 million for attempted murder. They were captured this morning when police got a tip about their car being spotted near an abandoned home. The suspects fled and they tried to enter a home, and the homeowner opened fire on the teens. The teens fled and were captured by police. They face additional charges in Hinds County as well.
Burrillsville police say a woman called 911 this morning and said someone was breaking into her apartment, then said she'd shot the intruder. Burrillsville police say the law gives people the right to use deadly force to protect themselves inside their home.
It's very unfortunate. We're glad that no one else was hurt in the process. So the homeowner felt like they had to do what was necessary, and that's ultimately their choice.
Lacey says she's glad the homeowner was able to defend herself, and she hopes that other burglars will think twice about what they're doing.
It's like you live in a place and you think, oh, well, we're safe here, it's fine, but it's like the world is just getting more and more crazy every day.
And Burrillsville police say they interviewed the woman and then released her, and it'll be up to the DA to decide if any charges will be filed.
Well, new tonight, the Cocke County Sheriff's Office says a man was shot and killed after a home invasion. The sheriff says 33-year-old Trondre Hines broke into a camper on Buddha Road this morning. Now they say he began fighting with the police inside when someone shot him. When deputies arrived, Hines was pronounced dead at the scene. No word yet on if the shooter will be charged.
1 man is dead and another is behind bars now following a home invasion in Westmoreland County on Friday night. Police were called to an alley near 17th Street in Arnold. That's where they found Alan Austin Jr. lying on the ground. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Investigators say Austin Jr. was shot by the homeowner, Malik Black. Police say it happened when Austin Jr. and 2 other people broke into Black's home. The homeowner now faces multiple charges. Those include receiving stolen property and drug offenses.
In the district, more violent crime after a teen carjacking suspect was injured in a shooting. D.C. police responded to Benning Road in Northeast just after 4 a.m. When officers arrived on scene, they found a teenage boy suffering from a graze wound to the head. Now, detectives say that teen stole a car in Southeast prior to this shooting.
It began with a pre-dawn carjacking. The red Toyota Camry was taken on 14th Street in Southeast. The alleged thief, a juvenile. Police say he drove off in the stolen car and ended up here on Benning Road in Northeast. There was an altercation and at least one shot was fired. Police say the teen suffered a graze wound to the head and the car ended up on the concrete median. One of the windows shot out. People who live and drive through the area say carjackings are out of control.
It's pretty crazy, especially for how young the kids are.
For last night's double shooting that happened in Madison Township, Adonis and James Garcia are charged with aggravated robbery.
Adonis Garcia is also charged with felony assault in this case.
A lot of scary things happening and still a lot of questions as those two men are here at the Middletown City Jail tonight. But I spoke with a man who says he was involved in what happened last night. He said before they could say anything, two men pulled into their driveway, started shooting at them, ended up shooting one of their friends, then grabbed another friend, had him by the neck and at gunpoint, threatening to kill everyone if they didn't give up everything they had. But the man told me that they were also armed and they shot back at them in self-defense. A man who lives where it happened told WCPO one of his friends was supposed to sell a gun to someone. But he said as soon as two men pulled up, they started shooting, hitting one of them, and tried to rob them. But he and somebody else fired back at them and hit one of them.
Everybody scattered, but by then, I guess each side had been shot.
Good evening. Caught on camera, homeowner confronts a bunch of would-be burglars trying to break into cars in Cyprus.
And a homeowner wasn't messing around, going outside with an AR-15 rifle.
This was the scene just after midnight Tuesday in the Villages of Cypress Lakes neighborhood.
I built guns, I built the ARs.
Motion detectors outside of Willis's home setting off an alarm, leading him to take matters into his own hands. Walking out his home with an AR-15 pointed in their direction, sending thieves scrambling, one even having to run to catch up with the getaway car. And while Willis didn't shoot,
that was what I wanted. I wanted him away from here. I don't want to kill somebody.
Something KHOU legal analyst Carmen Rose says Willis had every right to do under the state's Castle Doctrine. It gives citizens the right to exhibit a weapon or use deadly force when it's immediately necessary to prevent another's attempt to commit burglary or theft of property at night.
Ron, deputies tell us a teenager shot a guy in the head in North Springfield, but the guy who got shot is the one in jail tonight, charged for a domestic assault. We're told Stephen Bailey Jr. started strangling a woman. That's when the woman's son shot the guy in the head with a shotgun. Baylor survived, and now he's in jail after being treated at the hospital.
Bailey is charged with domestic assault in the 2nd degree and burglary in the 1st degree. And now, this isn't the first time he was at this house. Documents state Bailey was a suspect in an arson incident there also. Stephen Bailey Jr. sits in the Greene County Jail, held on $500,000 bond. He went to the hospital after he was shot in the head by the son of the woman who court documents show he was strangling.
What he was doing was acting in self-defense for a victim. So he's seeing a crime being occurred in action. He was, jumped into action and did what he had to do.
Says the teenage boy has not been arrested or charged.
A grand jury will decide if a woman accused of shooting and killing her ex overnight is going to face consequences. The deputies responded to a home in Atascocita on Woodlace Drive after a man was shot when he reportedly kicked in a door of a home to get in.
And the sheriff says Precinct 4 deputies responded to that home twice yesterday for disturbances before things turned deadly overnight. Deputies say a 39-year-old man forced his way inside his 39-year-old ex's home on Woodlace Drive in Atascocita around 1 this morning. And that's when she's accused of shooting and killing him. Law enforcement say no charges are expected to be filed at this time, and deputies were called twice Monday afternoon to the home before the man allegedly went back a third time overnight.
On both cases, it's our understanding when deputies arrived, Precinct 4 deputies arrived, that the male had already fled the location.
We're told charges were submitted on the man to the DA's office Monday afternoon, but weren't accepted.
The police department is searching for this man, 32
40-year-old Keenan Martin, wanted for burglary and criminal mischief. Police are also trying to identify a second man who fired several shots at Martin's car today. Martin was detained for questioning earlier this morning after dropping a woman off at the hospital for a minor gunshot wound. He was later released. But then police learned that Martin had allegedly broken into his ex-girlfriend's house before that and broke several pieces of furniture. The ex-girlfriend says that a man in the area witnessed this and fired several shots at Martin's vehicle as he left. Some of those shots struck the vehicle, which allegedly led to the woman with Martin being injured.
Stay public. That is the word from the chief after a Facebook marketplace meetup in Peoria Monday turned into a deadly confrontation. Police say Monday night, two people came to Peoria to buy a vehicle they saw on Facebook Marketplace. They were directed to a nearby alley to see the ride and were met with an armed robbery attempt. Both groups opened fire, and one of the suspected robbers, 18-year-old Marcus Whitehead, was shot and killed. Peoria's chief, Eric Echeverria, encouraging people to conduct these transactions in public places only, whether that's City Hall, the fire department, even the police department.
If you're a legitimate seller, you'll go where I need you to go. If you're really trying to sell something, whether it's a cell phone, a gaming system, shoes, a car, meet me somewhere safe.
The chief says at this point they're looking at the Monday shooting as justified self-defense. The victim was a legal gun owner with a license to carry a firearm.
Who says she shot him in self-defense.
As police lights illuminate an apartment complex on the city's northeast side following a fatal shooting, a brighter light shines on a bigger issue: domestic violence.
I just know what he's capable of doing, and last night something just told me, okay, I need to just protect myself.
Woman you just heard from, who asked to remain anonymous, says she shot and killed her boyfriend while he was attacking her inside the apartment Thursday night.
He was strangling me that I tried to push him back, but he was getting stronger and just more physical. And that's when, that's when I fell back, and he was just lunging towards me. He was, I don't know, because he will just start just wailing off on me. And so I just shot him.
She says over the course of their relationship, she's gotten 5 no-contact orders and an order of protection against him.
New this morning, the Greenville County Sheriff's Office has arrested a man in connection with a domestic violence situation. 48-year-old Danny Sanders was arrested after allegedly getting into a physical altercation with his girlfriend. That girlfriend then shot Sanders, according to deputies, in self-defense. Sanders was caught and charged with domestic violence in the 2nd degree and malicious damage after he fled the scene. He was taken to the hospital for his injuries.
And tonight, a teenager is under arrest after police say they stole a tip jar from a restaurant in Beachview and then shot at its employees. Police were called to Las Palmas on Broadway Avenue just before 4 this afternoon. Employees say they got into an argument with the suspect, who then stole the tip jar and took off. But as they were running away, the suspect and the restaurant's employees fired shots at one another. A canine unit eventually found the suspect and arrested him.
A woman was killed, a man seriously hurt during an argument at an apartment in North Harris County. This happened at around 10:30 this morning at the Glen Cove Apartments. That's on Imperial Valley Drive near the FM 1960 and the North Freeway. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez says a man and a woman showed up to the apartment and started banging on the door. When the people inside answered, there was an argument. A woman who lives inside the apartment apparently pulled out a gun and shot the man and woman. The woman died at the hospital. The man, who was also stabbed, is in serious condition. The sheriff's office says the shooter is cooperating with investigators, and right now it is not clear whether any charges will be filed.
After a fatal shooting overnight in Terre Haute.
Yeah, Terre Haute police say that just after 3 this morning, officers responded to a report of a shooting in the 3200 block of Harrison Avenue. When officers arrived, they found 44-year-old Frank Jenkins IV had been shot. Police say he was taken to a local hospital and later died from his injuries. According to Terre Haute police, the preliminary investigation indicates the shooting was in self-defense. Police say the person involved had been threatened, confined, and battered extensively and repeatedly over 24 hours. The investigation is ongoing.
A knife-wielding suspect is accused of trying to kill a mother and her 3 children inside their home in Carroll County. Sheriff Clint Walker says deputies captured Steve Goss Jr. after he ran into a store to avoid being captured. Goss is accused of using his truck to smash into the dining room of a home in the Gravel Hill community. The sheriff says the family was hiding in a closet once Goss gained entry. The mother then shot him in the arm and Goss fled the scene. He now faces 4 counts of attempted murder and burglary. He was already out on bond on another felony charge.
Arrested a man who they say robbed a Northwest Side restaurant, was shot at, then crashed his car blocks from the robbery. Police say the suspect held up this taco burrito king in the 5400 block of West Belmont. They say a licensed gun owner inside the restaurant shot at the robber, who then drove off in an SUV. Police caught up to him a few blocks away when he crashed the vehicle near Diversey and Long Avenue. Officers took the suspect to a nearby hospital to be treated for a minor injury. He's listed in fair condition. No word yet on charges.
Wichita Falls police are investigating a shooting during an apparent robbery that left 1 man dead and 2 others injured at a Wichita Falls apartment complex last night.
At around 9:30 last night, police and first responders were called to the complex here in the 5200 block of Professional Drive to a report of gunshots. There, officers found 3 men with gunshot wounds. IPER says one of the wounded men was a resident of the apartment who told officers the other 2 men tried to rob him after pulling out guns.
The resident says he produced a firearm during the robbery attempt and shots were fired.
After an investigation, the one that was treated released was a resident at the apartment who told the officers that the other 2 males had tried to rob him. They had firearms. He was able to produce a firearm during the robbery, and he shot both of the suspects. Again, one of those suspects died at the hospital, and one of them is in critical condition.
Crime scene tape enveloped the development where all of this went down. This is inside the Capitol Gateway Apartments here off of Logan Street. Cops say they got the call before 4 p.m. We initially heard from police that they thought this might have been a burglary turned deadly, but just a little while ago, the homicide commander on scene told us they now believe the man who was shot and the suspected shooter knew each other.
A dispute between acquaintances, male and female. They're trying to establish their relationship with each other, but they do know each other. It seems like one was trying to appear to force entry into the apartment, and that led to altercation that ultimately led to a shooting incident.
That lieutenant says the man who has died was in his 30s, and he says they believe the woman opened fire when he tried to get inside the apartment. At this point, it's not clear if the woman will be charged or if police believe she acted in self-defense.
It's a situation no homeowner ever wants to find themselves in, standing face-to-face with an intruder in your own home. Luckily, for one Fruita resident, she was able to defend herself, sending the man involved running and sending the Fruita Police Department looking for answers. Just after 2 a.m. on Sunday morning, Melanie Logan was in her house on the 400 block of Pisces Circle when Fruita PD say this unidentified man entered her house. Logan, armed with a handgun, was able to defend her house and sent the man involved running. Fruita PD searched for the man, but still no one has been charged with anything involving this incident. Luckily, no one was injured in the altercation and no damages to the property were reported. Fruita PD urges that people should take every necessary precaution regardless of how safe you think your neighborhood is.
Make sure that your doors are locked to your house, your doors are locked to your cars. A lot of times people have garage openers in their car, so you want to make sure your house and your cars are locked.
If you have any information about the case or the identity of the man in this photo.
Philadelphia police are investigating an attempted robbery where both the victim and the suspects fired shots. Happened just after 7 o'clock tonight on the 6100 block of Schisler Street in Oxford Circle. Police say as the victim was parking his car, 4 men approached him and 1 pulled out a gun. The victim had a permit to carry and exchange gunfire, but he was shot in the hip and is in stable condition this evening. The 4 other men ran away. Police say they do have surveillance video of the incident.
Well, Lubbock police identify the man killed in a shooting in a South Overton neighborhood. He is 28-year-old Jonathan Villarreal. This happened outside a home in the area of 15th Avenue U Wednesday afternoon. Police say the homeowner was doing some business with a rental property customer when Villarreal and another man entered the home. The 2 then went outside, and when the homeowner came out, there was an argument, and police say Villarreal pulled out a gun, so the homeowner shot and killed him. No arrests have been made, but police say they are still investigating.
Police say it started near the intersection of G Street and Erie Avenue after an altercation between two drivers, a 19-year-old in this white Honda and a 38-year-old in this gray Ford.
Preliminary information is the 19-year-old exited his vehicle and pointed a gun at the 38-year-old driver. The 38-year-old pulled his weapon and fired several shots.
The 19-year-old was shot in the head, chest, back, and arm and then left the area.
It's pretty amazing that after being shot multiple times, he was able to drive from G and Erie.
Small says a relative brought the 19-year-old to the hospital for treatment. Meanwhile, police taped off this second scene to collect evidence, and they recovered a weapon in the Honda believed to be the 19-year-old's gun. A witness shared this photo of the 38-year-old man who didn't drive away.
The 38-year-old shooter remained on scene and is cooperating with police. We have his weapon, and he also does have a valid permit to carry.
Around 6:30 in the morning, this alleyway became a crime scene after a man was shot here and later died. Through sunrise, detectives shuffled around a garage bordered by yellow tape, dropping evidence markers to reveal what unfolded there as best they could. 18 days into January, and it's the Crown Hill neighborhood's second homicide so far this year. The one-sentence-long police report narrative reads, quote, "Complainant shot male entering his garage."
He said, somebody got shot. I said, what you mean got shot? I said, you know what happened? He said, yeah, they was trying to break in this guy's garage.
A woman reached out to us and identified the victim as her cousin, saying it's hard to believe he would break into someone's home and that he was struggling with addiction.
It's hard. It's really hard. We're all devastated. We're struggling. It's just not fair.
IMPD says the person they believe is responsible was detained at the scene, but released after a consultation with the Marion County Prosecutor's Office.
Police cars are facing this home right behind me. There are a few evidence markers on the driveway and on the street. There are some police officers still out here. Police tell us a man tried to break into a home, but the homeowner shot him. The man ran away from the home on foot, but was found immediately not far from where the shooting happened. He was detained in the 1500 block of North 7th Avenue. Police say the man was taken to the hospital so he can be treated for his gunshot wound. Police did not say where he was shot, but say injuries are non-life threatening. Now, if the homeowner decides to press charges, police say the man receiving medical treatment will be booked into jail once he is released from medical care. Now, the homeowner was not injured, but police say this is an ongoing investigation. Reporting live, Lindsay Regas, Fox 10 News.
A teal van surrounded by flashing lights at a Walmart parking lot Tuesday evening. It's where Gardner police found 29-year-old Colton Valdez shot in the chest following an argument. That night, officers questioned and released a man who fired the gun. And after days of collecting evidence and working with the Wake County District Attorney's Office, officers announced Friday charges won't be filed.
This is not okay. They're letting this man go. A 29-year-old man lost his life. A mother lost her son. Kids lost their father over a argument.
Through the investigation, police say the man shot the gun after Valdez approached him with what looked like a gun. Police now say he had a BB gun that resembled a handgun. Valdez's mother, Kathy, says her son was trying to protect her and claiming he was not armed.
He didn't have one. This guy comes around the van. I don't see where no one's life is in threat when my son's leaving. We're gone. We're done.
Investigators tell me they not only found the BB gun at the scene, but also heard from multiple witnesses who saw it.
Washington County, Indiana Prosecutor's Office says there won't be any charges after a fatal shooting in southern Indiana. The deadly shooting happened inside a home on North College Avenue near downtown Salem. Officers responded to the shooting just after midnight on Sunday. 29-year-old Jacob Mitchell died at the house. Police said 24-year-old Blake Henry shot him, and he was initially arrested for murder. Through an investigation, police say Mitchell attacked Henry and a female at the home. Officers say Mitchell was physically charging Henry when Henry fired fatal shots. Police now say Henry was acting in self-defense.
News from overnight. 2 suspects on the run this morning after an alleged home invasion that happened in the Trinity Gardens area.
Jeff and Charlie, we know Houston police found at least one of the suspects in this case, and it's allegedly because someone who was inside the home saw the commotion and began shooting. This is what we know so far. HPD says around 12:30 this morning, 3 people allegedly tried to rob a man as he was getting out of his car. They say the suspects forced the man up to the front door of his home. During the whole ordeal, someone who was inside the house allegedly saw saw what was going on and then started shooting at the suspects.
Those suspects then returned fire and then fled the scene. Shortly thereafter, police units arrived and were able to locate one of the suspects in a nearby neighborhood. He had injuries, gunshot wounds to the legs and one to the arm.
Police are investigating how 3 men ended up shot last night. Police say around 10:30 p.m. a man walked into a business saying he'd been shot. He claimed 2 masked men came into a recording studio on North Collins where he was working and began firing. He said he shot back. Well, police then found those suspects in a stolen car. Both of them had gunshot wounds. Charges tonight are pending.